Athena, Autistic Artist College. We're interviewing a father. His name is Steve. Welcome to our show.
Pleased to be here.
And this is his son, Dustin. Hello, Dustin.
Hello.
Dustin, I heard that you enjoy sports like bowling and baseball. You like to tell your story?
Yes.
What sports do you like, Dust?
Hockey, football, baseball, basketball,
Very
How about
good.
special?
and golf, and bowling, and bocce, and
He's pretty well rounded. He likes
Yes.
everything.
That's amazing. Yes, I like bowling. Yes, I won bowling patches and trophies myself. I heard you got bowling medals, Dustin.
yes.
What's your score in bowling?
What's the highest you ever got?
I think 262.
262 was his highest.
Oh,
I'm
that
not
is
kidding.
so cool, Dustin.
It's a natural. He gets it in the right spot. Typical, textbook autistic. You get to right line things up. He bowls. I've seen him bowl 200, and that's remarkable. But his high is way up there. He's a good bowler.
Does he bowl in leagues? Bowling leagues?
No.
Just Special Olympic stuff. What night were you bowling, Dust?
Friday.
Yeah, he was bowling on Fridays for. It's kind of a league, but kind of not. It's more of a fun, but they keep track of the scores and stuff like that. It's pretty cool.
Yes. So, Steve, what was like for you? Maybe you could share your story growing up as a child.
Yeah, I had three brothers. We moved around. I was a military baby. I was born in Jacksonville, North Carolina, and like I said, we were moving around. We wound up in New York at Griffiths Air Force Base up here, many years ago, and grew up in the Utica, New York area, right smack in the middle of the state.
Did you went to college?
Yeah, I didn't go back until I was an adult, though. I wound up working. I was always a go-getter. My parents had split, and I wanted, some independence, and I wanted money. My mom was always working, but I wanted my own money. I was 12 years old. I started a small business, and at 12, and I literally, by the time I was in my 20s, I had 28 employees. So it was pretty cool to be able to do something like that and make it happen and independently without it. I didn't go to college till I was married, remarried, and had kids. Then I went back to college.
What
I did it kind of
business?
backwards.
What business did you start it?
Contracting. I literally started painting people's porches in New Hartford here, and I just go door to door, knock on. It's hard to believe that somebody would do that now in today's world at 12 years old, but back then I did. I went and knocked on people's doors, and I used to get regular customers, and they had me do all kinds of things, and I learned that way at a very young age, and I worked hard, and it paid off.
That's good. And what you did afterwards? What direction in life?
I needed something that wasn't so seasonal because we're in upstate New York and we had quite a bit of snow back then and all that. So I've always done a whole lot of stuff. I got into manufacturing. I worked my way up. I started on the line, got into management supervision it was called Kelsey Hayes. It was an aerospace tech firm. We made airplane blades, and I did it for 17 years. And while I still was working this business, contracting business, and I did both. When you have kids, I had to work hard and keep a roof over their heads. So I did both.
It's wonderful. what things did you enjoy doing besides working?
Dustin got his sports love from me. I always played muni league softball in the adult leagues from 18 years old up. Played 28 years, I think, total, 27 years total. I played into my mid 40s and leagues, men's leagues around here, and loved it. And yeah, that was my fun. It was the sports. I got Dustin involved in it, and he took to it. It was one of the things that really helped along the way with this autism was to have the sports things that we could do together and all of that. So it was fun.
That's wonderful. So, Steve, you know, maybe you could share the story, you know, with your son, as being adopted him and the love you had for him and your family, learning about autism. What was like for you in your journey?
Yeah, look, I come at this for a couple. We have multiple kids here. My son is biological, Dustin's biological son. He's 35 now. We struggled in the very beginning with the autism because they didn't diagnose it back then. And we didn't know what it was, and nobody knew what it was. So I kind of had to get really good at advocacy to help put supports along the way for him. And he didn't get diagnosed till his late teens, and went many years without services because there wasn't anything back there to provide services. And what happened was I got pretty good at it, and then neighborhood families were dropping their kids off that had autistic kids that weren't diagnosed yet, and they were dropping them off at our house for weeks on end. And I got, like I said, I got pretty good at with patients and things that you use to help with a kid that's autistic. And I remarried. My wife and I decided to get into foster care, and we adopted a kid with autism out of the foster care system several years ago, and we're in the process of adopting another kid out of the foster care system. So I come at this from a lot of different areas of autism. We have quite a bit of experience. We've done it for so long that we actually know how many kids have come through here, mostly because we know where they are. We like to know where they are after they leave our home. And we've had a lot of kids. I think it's 170 something kids that have come through our home. And we're a therapeutic foster home, which means we take the high needs kids. And we're one of the few in our whole county that has ever done the high needs, profound autism children up to age 20. And like I said, we got pretty good at it because we've had so many come through our home. And so I have quite an extensive background in autism.
That's wonderful. So how many children did you foster?
178, I think, was the total. And like I said, we know that total. I normally wouldn't count. I don't really like that word, but we know where they are. And a lot of times in foster care, especially with the kids with disabilities and autism, they go through foster home after foster home, and the foster home just cuts all ties, and the kid has more loss. We stay with our kids. They age out, and they come. They either go in the military, go to college, or move out on their own, and they all come back. We get them here for the holidays and everything else. So even with the autism, they love to come back, and we love having them.
That's exciting. So what are some things that you learned about autism that really connected you?
Yeah.
They're drawing you in with it,
Yeah, probably the biggest thing is that it's not a cookie cutter, autism is not a cookie cutter situation. Out of all the kids that we've had that come through our home, and I also advocate for other kids in the community and throughout the state, I don't think there's any two that were ever alike. We've had kids that are profound autism. We've had kids that are high functioning autism. We've had nonverbal autism. We've had ones that are really good with speech, but might have other, be dual diagnosed with autism / mental health, autism / trauma. And so we never put them into a box of one trying to undo some of the things like coming through foster care and they come in with trauma. We try to undo a lot of that, but we don't treat them all the same as far as the way we have to approach it, because a nonverbal autistic kid is a little differently than somebody can verbalize what's going on with their autism. And we had to learn along the way how to communicate even when they couldn't, and what their needs were. So, and I think it's a skill, and I think it's because of the experience and the long time that we do it. I don't know if you learn it in college either. I work with a lot of professionals that got master's degrees, and they literally can't handle one of our kids for an hour. And they went to school for special ed. They just can't a lot of times. And so I think it's more of a something that you learn, that I don't want to call it tricks, but different things that we use here to help us with a lot of these kids, and finding their strengths, and keying in on that and allow them to be themselves.
Yes, because autism has their own story. Each child has their own story, their gifts,
Yes.
and the love is just the love for them, compassion. And autism is not the love, the compassion, but you have to have a heart for it. So you can have people who are not trained, but they're able to connect more to that child and show the love. So sometimes training doesn't always, they don't understand themselves, or maybe that's not their, passion, or where they're,
I don't know
not
if
for them.
I literally been part of some of the teaching parts of when they train new foster parents and autism parents and stuff like that in the community. And what I find is it's that if you've got a knack for it and you really want to learn how to do it, there's sometimes, like I said, the education doesn't mean anything. I don't think you can learn autism and how to handle it in a textbook. I think you have to
No.
have a situation where maybe they need to intern more in the colleges part of it to be able to go into a classroom or go into a home setting and work with a child that's got autism, maybe profoundly. I think they're going to get much better experience and hands-on than that in a book. And I've certainly seen it along the way. Like I said, we've had many case planners come in our house with master's degrees, and they literally drop the kid back off after they take them somewhere because they can't handle it. And I think it's a knack. You really got to want to do it. Like you said, the love part of it. You really got to love the kids enough to understand that there's just a kid in there. You got to find a way to communicate with him, and a way to make him feel comfortable and all that kind of stuff, in order for him to express himself.
Steve, is in the inner soul of the child on the spectrum. They know that you love them. They know you accept to them, and also you feel comfortable with them. But the ones could be what they call professionals because they got a degree, but even though they cannot connect with that child and they don't understand, the child knows it, and they're not going to be able to feel comfortable.
Right.
And
yeah.
then that's why they bring it back to you. That's why they bring that back
Right.
to you, the child.
Yeah. It's interesting because some of the high functioning autistic kids will come back after they've aged out of the system, and they might have a job now, with supports and stuff like that, but they'll come back and they'll tell us that they always wanted to come back to our house because they knew we had their back. They knew that no matter what they did on the autism spectrum, as far as if they had a behavior, if they had a meltdown, that we always had their back and that we're always trying to make it better. And when they tell us that's why we continue to do it for so long, is because we've been able to have success doing that. And I think, like I said, a part of it, you've got to let the ones with autism know that you care and that you love them. And you're going to be there no matter what.
Yes. That's the importance. So, does the children you take care of, do they have any skills like art or
Yeah,
science, anything interest they like to do that you notice?
yeah, yeah, Maria. Like I was saying earlier, they've all got their strengths, and we get kids that come in here that are autistic that are extremely talented with art, but they've never had art put in front of them, or they've never had an opportunity to even draw. And when you're getting bounced around in a foster care system, house to house to house, you're not really going to have an opportunity unless somebody says, you know what, maybe I ought to try and do something different and find something he likes and try different things until you find something he likes. A lot of times that doesn't happen here. If the, we we'll put that stuff right in front of these kids, and we'll find out soon, pretty quick, how good they are, whether they like the art, whether they want to do it, or if they're talented. And we've had kids that are nonverbal that are fantastic artists at a young age, and we try to make sure that we send positive vibes to them so that they continue that love of art, because they really are talented. Some of these kids are really talented and self-taught.
Yes, because that's their talents and their gifts. It's also like their voice. So
Right.
even though they're not able to verbalize it to you, but they could show you on paper. They could, and sometimes it could build on their language.
Right. Absolutely. And we've
Like-
seen that too. It's been a
like-
stepping stone to better communication.
Yes. Some has connection to horses. And I
Yes.
think it's important, the artists with autism is anyone connect with the performing arts. It could be with writing, acting, on stage. It could be maybe doing the drawings for the theater, for that theme. So it could be anywhere a part of the performing arts.
Yeah, Maria, we actually had a kid that came through here. He came in at a young age. It was in a group home. He was breaking everything, punching holes in walls, and everything. We brought him here, and he did it one time, and we actually made him help fix it, and he never did it again after that because there was a little bit of accountability. But you know what happened? We found out that kid, and the punchline is he was blind, and he found a love of art and drawing, and he aged out of the the system, and he wound up in a day program, but it's a fine arts day program. He literally draws every day. He's got the best life. He's doing what he loves to do, and some of his stuff has been put on display at some of the local art shows. And he's, like I said, he's blind, but we found he had a knack for drawing and fine arts, and they wanted to put him in this blind program way back, and I advocated it because I knew he liked to draw, and this new program was opening with fine arts, and I advocated strongly, even with the resistance, that he should go there, and we were able to get him in, and he's prospered because of it. He's been in there probably 7-8 years now in that program, in that fine arts program, and he draws every day, does pictures, and they have him framed and everything. It's beautiful.
Yes,
He
even
still
the
calls
camera.
me to tell. Yeah, he
A
still
camera
calls
is
me to
also
tell me.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty he's quite the success story. We call him one of our really good success stories because he's done so well. And he was behavioral when he came into our house, and all he needed was a mechanism to not be behavioral, and a something to do with art, whether it was a paintbrush or whatever was the difference.
They probably did not realize he was blind.
Yeah.
That's why he had the behaviors he was not understanding.
Yeah.
Or he cannot see where he was going.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he was quite angry when he came to our house, but we got through it. I convinced my wife to hang in there with me, and we turned it around. And like I said, after he did that one episode in our house, and we helped him make, sand the wall and everything, and now he kids about it now, all these years later, and I'll never do that again, Steve. But he found his niche, and that happened to be art. And it's it's a cool thing. You have to search for those things with autistic kids. They, like we were saying, they all have strengths. My Dustin's here. He loves sports. He's probably not the artist, but that kid was James. He was an artist, and somebody else, it might be something else. And it's a matter of trying to find what their niche is and what they like. And it certainly helps them to be well rounded and have a pretty cool quality of life, even with autism.
Yeah. But he is good in sports.
Yeah, Dustin's great in sports. Dustin,
That's-
want to get a couple of your trophies? Bring them over.
Yeah, we like
We're gonna
to
have him
see
get a couple of your trophies, yeah, or a couple of medals. Bowling, golf. Literally, last Saturday he won. We had regionals in Ithaca, New York, for golf, Special Olympics golf. Dustin went out there. He wasn't even feeling well. He won gold medal. He's really
Awesome.
talented. He's really talented in sports, and a lot of it's self-taught. Yes, my wife and I played sports, but Dustin's one that would go outside and hit a ball 100 times and then hit it back the other way 100 times in our yard. And I would get exhausted just looking out the window, watching him do all that. And he'd do it all day long. And he got really good at baseball that way. He got really good at golf that way. And it was, like I said, it was one of the mechanisms that helped with the autism part of it and helped him to grow in so many different ways and improve his quality of life tremendously.
Yes. Dustin, you like to show us the trophies?
Yeah, this one's for bowling, and
So right up. There you go.
Cool.
this one's for golf.
Yeah. He's got quite a few. He's got shelf loads.
But that's his
Strength.
reward for doing
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
So, do you play sports yourself, Steve?
Yeah. Not anymore. I got hurt. I hurt my hand in a car accident, and so I don't. I would still be playing because I'm older now, but I played up to 45, age 45, which is pretty remarkable to be playing softball, and I was playing shortstop and pitching at a late age, and then I got hurt and I couldn't play anymore. But I wish I could still play. I can still probably hit. I take these foster kids up to the batting range, and they'll bet me you can't hit one of them, and I'll hit one of the fastballs, like it was nothing. It shocks them at my age. They don't underestimate the old guy anymore.
Yeah. You can always do lots of things in life. The age,
You got it.
it could be any age, as long as you're able to do your passion.
You got it. Yeah.
So, Steve, this is my painting. This is my painting. It's Athena. It's the purple owl.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. That's my original.
That's really nice.
And
You see that, Dust? The owl?
Yes,
Isn't that cool?
man.
that's
You got talent there.
Thank you. Yeah, that's my passion. My paintings. So my paintings is showing a mother and daughter in the Blue Point Bayport Library. So for the month of October, so everybody wants to go, it's upstairs and they can see our work.
Very nice.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's some pretty nice work there, Maria.
Yes. I was thinking I would like to go back to bowling myself. It's been such a long, time. But How old was your son started bowling and golf?
Dusty, you remember?
Um,
Ball for bowling.
Probably late teenage.
Yeah, I think bowling was late teens. Golf was a little after that. The Special Olympics actually hasn't been that long. We didn't have a lot of programs around here and where we are for that. And somebody told us about one of the programs, and we were able to get him in some of them. And he's literally excelled. I mean, some of the new sports that they have, like bocce and cornhole, he's really good at already. And it's a brand new sports, the Special Olympics in our area, and it's brand new to him. And he winds up excelling at it.
Yes.
Loves to go.
Yes, probably golf. Maybe there was just a golf thing from one of the towns. Maybe one day he could be
Yeah,
there.
right.
We'd like
He's
to
pretty
see that.
talented. Yeah, I actually went a few years back. Paid to give him lessons, and the instructor was a golf pro at one of the golf clubs, and he says Dustin doesn't need any lessons. He's pretty good already. So he had the basics down and the fundamentals down. So and he's a good golfer,
It comes natural to him.
right?
Yes. So, what others what you like to share about you, Steve?
Well, I decided later on, late in life, I wish I'd done this a lot earlier. The advocacy I'm doing across the state now, and even I'm involved in things that are across the country now with advocacy, trying to change some of the systems that are broke. The kids that have autism that come to our house sometimes are on waiting lists for 2 years for medical and dental. They're on waiting lists for a psych eval for a year and a half. And we're trying to fix some of those problems. There's problems with housing and transportation within the autism community. We're trying to help with some of that, and I'm heavily involved in that part of the advocacy. I'm the New York State chair for the National Council for Severe Autism. I'm the statewide lead for the New York Alliance for Developmental Disabilities. So I'm trying to give back, and I take the leadership roles because I want to move the needle, and I want some change with some of this stuff because the kids that we see with autism, they can't be waiting on wait lists for 2 years for a cleaning because they need sedation or a year and a half to get an eval that would allow him to get supports around them in the school. And unfortunately, and it's across the country, there's a lot of issues with the systems that are in place because they don't work a lot of times for everybody on the autism spectrum. It might work for a few, but it doesn't work for all. And usually the ones with profound autism, it winds up taking longer to get supports around them, and it shouldn't. So I'm going to continue advocating. I'm glad that you have a podcast too, and putting it out there because I think it has to be addressed. Everything about autism should be out there, and I think the stories need to be told, and then that's how we move the needle.
Do you have self-direction near you?
Yes, my son has self-direction. That's been a good thing. Like I said, when we first started, he didn't have anything, and then I wish we had self-direction way back then because it does allow some benefits and some to get him out in the community with a caseworker through ComHab. There's other things that he can get, some supports, community classes, transportation for like if he goes to a hockey game and stuff like that. I'm a big fan of self-direction, but having said that, there's also some issues with self-direction. Self-direction can be like he's allowed, I think, 3 or 4 workers. It's hard enough to get workers, but it's even harder because they have to go through all this rigorous background checks and training for somebody that might even know him and be related to him. And And then they get discouraged, and then he winds up with no help and no supports around him. And so there's some tweaking that has to be done in the self-direction system. I'm actually working with OPWDD on some of that, some of the policy and regulations of this, trying to address some of the self-direction, what we as parents think are deficiencies. And like I said, just tweak it.
Thanks.
I think it's a great program. It just needs some fine tuning.
Yes, and it's important with self-direction is find the right people that you can trust to connect
Right.
with and work with your child. And work together with the family, because you have to all work together to make it.
Exactly.
And there, you could take classes. Are you taking classes?
No, Dustin's not taking any right now. He's had some
Okay.
sports classes and things like that over the years. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. He does go to Dayhab, Ventures Dayhab through the ARC. It's probably the best program I've seen in the state. He gets to intern out in the community, and which is like a job, and at different places, and he likes going every day. And when you grow up and the kids are trying to not go on the bus, Dustin runs to the bus. He can't wait to go. So I know it's a successful program when that happens, and he gets to do so many cool things, and even work, and they make it fun, and he enjoys going there.
That's wonderful. That's good to know. And he feels safe there. That's beautiful.
You feel safe, right, Dust?
Yes.
Yes. What's some of the things that with self-direction you're hoping for, that you're working with to to help the system?
Yeah, I think they have to look at when you have a budget of say 50,000 for, which is based on sometimes the complexities of the autism or disability. You have the parent needs to be able to shuffle that money around to what fits the needs of Dustin or a child better. And unfortunately, they'll tell you can shift money around, but you really can't because it's capped. I remember going through COVID, and they weren't busing anymore to his program, and we had to bring him back and forth, or we had to pay somebody to bring him back and forth. That ate up all his transportation budget in a couple months, and we still had the rest of the year to go. They wouldn't cover any of it. It's those kinds of things. It could be all the money's tied up in staffing, and we can't get staff, but there's other things that he could do, but the budget is all in the staffing part of it, and we can't move it into something else. I look back at his self-direction, and we're happy for some of the things that they do. The transportation is up to the cap, of course, helps, and some of the staffing, when we can get staff that can take him out and community hab things or work with him in his here. But there's, like I said, you can't move money around, and there's a better use. If they're going to give you like a cap, they're going to say he gets a $50,000 budget. The parents should be able to use that. And unfortunately, what happens is they don't use it. They'll use 10,000 of the 50,000, and the rest goes into Never Land, back to the state, and doesn't ever get used by Dustin. So they can't really say he gets a $50,000 budget because he really doesn't. He doesn't use it. So that's one of the things I'm trying to help address and fix in the self-direction part of it. It's complicated because the regs and policy and everything else, and it takes quite a bit. Some of it's got to be changed legislatively. We certainly have had many meetings with the commissioner's office of that regarding the self-direction, and I get myself on committees to make sure that I have a seat at the table and represent Dustin at the table.
Is all your children is on self-direction, or only Dustin?
Just Dustin right now. The kid we adopted right now, we're going through the front door process of OPWDD, it's a long, complicated process. We kind of wish we had done it when he was in the foster care system, because they would have been responsible for moving us along instead of us. And right now, we have to do that's all on us. And we knew he was going to need that. They should have. Part of the problem is you can't, like, foster care is under OCFS, who is the Office for Children and Family Services in the state. Unfortunately, OPWDD is this whole separate state agency. You can't use both at once. They call it double dipping. So they're not even eligible for OPWDD. But what we could have done was get him eligible, which you can do, and just don't use it until he's adopted and then start using it. But they didn't do that in this case, and they don't do it a lot of times. And what happens is the kid sits without services after he ages out of foster care and gets adopted for a couple of years until you get all the things together that you need to have OPWDD certification. So it's a mind boggle for parents. They get frustrated, and I get the calls all the time. Can you help Steve with some of this? And there's an easier way, but again, it goes back to policy and regs, and they got to find a way to be able to access cross services within these cross systems. And right now, they're not. They're all siloed.
So anything Dustin would like to say before we wrap it up?
No.
You enjoy being on?
Yes.
You did an
You enjoyed
awesome
being
job.
on, Maria.
You did an awesome job. We're proud. So Steve, what will be the most important thing you'd like to share before we wrap it up?
I actually want to kick it back to you, because I think it's important that you do this. As a parent speaking out, I think more self advocates got to speak out, more family members got to speak out, and a good way to do that is whatever outlet you can make that happen. And so I think it's important that, I'm glad that you're getting this out there too, and we'll continue. And I think together we can move the needle. It's important. A lot of times people and parents think that the state and these provider agencies are the answer. And my own personal opinion, having done this for so long, is that they're not the Calvary. We are the Calvary. It has to be us, because it's just not going to get done unless the parents are involved, the self advocates are involved, those with autism are involved, or whoever, as the caretaker, guardian, or parent of them. And if they get involved and find resources and find a way to make this all better, they'll wind up with a quality of life that's way better than trying to wait for a system that sometimes is broke.
Yes. For our audience out there, self-direction is for the autism and to give them the life that they would like to have, or other disabilities, to have the life they want. That's important. Working together and knowing what's best, But
I agree. I think it's one of the.
Yes, it's one of the best programs out there to get the support, to have a say what you want in your life,
Right.
the classes that you want to do. But it's also important is find the right staff, the right people that you can connect with, to feel safe with them, and to trust and build a network with each other, like a family network that that everyone works
Exactly.
together, and that's what's
Yeah.
important. You can advocate.
Yeah.
You can make things better by I think it's also what you could bring towards the table for the Red Doors and the OWPDD is put a list of questions, because a lot of families or a lot of people don't know how much questions to ask when they interview the new person working in the family. And
Yeah.
how you know
I agree.
how you know if that person is being real, if they're being honest with their bio, with their information, so they get their resume. So they could say they did this and that, they could say they work with these things, but if they're not talking about it during the meeting, or they're not sharing what they actually done and what success they have, then that's unknown to you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
Look,
like
I agree.
starting over.
Yeah. Like I said, the more they get involved, a parent or a self advocate in their own lives, I think the better. Um, we are the cavalry, so to speak, and like I said, I don't rely on the state or provider agencies. We rely on them for supports, but we don't rely on them to put the quality of life around them that we need to. And I think as a parent, or if it's a caregiver or whoever, or somebody that's an adult that's self advocating for themselves, you've really got to reach out and surround yourself with people that can give you the right answers. Sometimes, I give a for instance that, I've called literally, a few years back OPWDD about a specific instance, and it was kind of complicated, but I got 10 different answers. I think sometimes you're better off going to a parent who's already gone down that road, because you're probably going to save yourself a lot of time, and find somebody that's knowledgeable around you, um, and listen.
So, Steve, that is wonderful that you're bringing a lot of autism people into your family to work with them, to give them a greater life, to be a foster father. It takes a lot of determination, the love, the passion you have for able to, to bring that into your life every day, to work with them.
Yeah,
And
you
they
got to really love it.
also, yes, they love it and they love you, and even they come back to you. And then you have becomes a family for life.
And that's what most people want anyways. They want to surround themselves with and have a sense of belonging. Most of these kids, they just want a sense of belonging. Most autistic kids, I don't know of any that didn't. They all wanted a sense of belonging, and whatever we can do to help provide that, or any family can, to give that to them, you're going to be far more ahead of the game and lives that we lead with anyone with autism.
Yeah, but the one touching story was that you brought in adopted a son, and you learned that he has a gift is so much into drawing, and you noticed that he was blind, that was overlooked in the system.
Yeah, we get to know these kids pretty well.
Yes. So thank you, Steve, for coming on, to sharing your story, and to bring your son on, Dustin, and the love of sports and bowling and the golf. My grandparents were golfers themselves, so definitely amazing. So stay tuned to the next episode on Athena Autistic Artist College. I'm Maria.